I believe it's not out of place to still wish you a happy new year. It's barely 5 days in. It's exactly 5 days in. And by now, I expect your plans for the year to have been scripted, your contingencies as well, because, well, if there's anything 2025 has taught us, is that man proposes, but the state of the economy disposes, right? And it's not to discourage you, but rather to prompt you to have a plan A, a B, a C, and, well, all the way to a Z, if you know how the alphabet works. Many of you did reach out following the surprising change in program scheduling. Thank you very much. It sort of reaffirms that you keenly follow us as a station, but it's nothing to worry about. The change has become necessary to allow us to expand the listener base that we have, right? I know that you are accustomed to a certain standard on this station, and I can assure you that this new change in programming starting from Fridays, right, is not going to have any effect whatsoever on the standard that you're used to. The only difference is language. We're going to be focusing more on indigenous programs from Fridays, and Saturdays programming will return to normal, or as you know it, on Sunday. So for those of you who probably hear Fuad speaks grammar Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're going to see another side of his analysis on Friday when he does these analysis in Yoruba, or in an indigenous language, if you like. Well, we have a lot to talk about today, and you'd see the pace in which I'm speaking, so we can get straight into the discuss of the day. So a lot of stories on the table, and I would like for us to get through as many as possible. Again, good morning and welcome to Mainland 98.3 FM. This is the Morning Express, as earlier introduced. This is the segment of the program where we look through our dailies. We're looking at the front pages, and we're highlighting or pointing you to the most important details that have been reported on the front covers of our dailies. My name is Sage Babalola. Soon enough, Watside will be here with us via the phone, yes, but before we bring him on board, I would like to take our minds back to some of the reports that had trended over the course of the weekend. We have the Punch newspaper reporting military unmasked ringleader of Northeast suicide bombings. Lagos CP orders SCID to probe Pastor Okafor over sex scandal allegations Fubara for second term. Anthony Joshua pays tribute to deceased friends in emotional post. Probe ministry over 128 billion naira power sector fund. And that's the much we can take from the Punch. And also over the weekend, the Guardian had reported the following stories. Suicide bombing. Military identifies Umar as key coordinator in Northeast. Wike slams Fubara, says backing dogs made him governor. Yobe boat tragedy. 25 feared dead. 13 rescued. 14 missing after case minister. Mount roadblock in Southeast, says Huriwa. Resident doctors to resume nationwide strike January 12. ADC calls Tinubu's NNPCL debt write-off unconstitutional. Warns of revenue loss. And finally, for the Vanguard, we have bandits kill 30 abduct villagers in Niger State community. INEC disowns fake 2027 election timetable. Presidency or nothing. Obedient movement rules out VP role for OB. And finally, for Vanguard, Rivers crisis gets messier as Wike blasts Fubara that some dog backed and made you governor. I think we saw that in the Punch. Well, that's all the much I can summarize for you for weekend report. We have a lot to talk about this morning. Some of the weekend report actually spilled into this morning, and then we have more information. That's the beautiful.
Good morning, Sage. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well, thank you so much. The conversation yesterday on Political Roundtable was a necessary conversation, and I'm so glad that I was able to find my way home in time to listen to that. So, I don't want you to feel sad, but then, I mean, it was important that Barrister Curtis was there to really analyze, especially the Venezuela conversation, because as you know, some Nigerians, because of their lack of desire to really dig deep into issues, they are penchant for surface level information. They already started pushing narratives that were just, and I'm grateful that he was there. If you would like to comment briefly, though, we'll talk about it on Global View.
Yeah, well, again, I think a lot was said yesterday. Like you said, Barrister Curtis was able to help us break it down from regions and different parts of the world. I think the takeaway for me is that, look, no country in the world, is going to come to save anybody. And there's even no free lunch in Freetown. For every country that has come to say they want to help you, there's always a vested interest. So you won't see the U.S., for example, the Africa's foreign policy say it is always sacrosanct. The same. It is always the method that is always different. Like the method we are seeing from Donald Trump now. No chills, no diplomacy. He says it the way it is. Look, an average Obama what he probably would have done is to sponsor people, sponsor uprising, and then get him out of power. And it will not in his speaking way. It's after Venezuela's oil. So now Trump was very clear. We're going to take over the oil.
Fuad, there's a temptation to go deep into that conversation, right?
Okay,
But we will do that for global view. I mean, I do agree with you. And about, for example, might decide not to sell you weapons and then force your hand. So diplomacy, it depends. Republican, Democratic method of handling is very different. But we'll talk about the dynamics as we move forward. We have to come back home for our side. It's heartbreaking. It's just 5 days into the year and we're seeing death toll as much as 40. Niger State once again has become the hub of bloodshed for our side. Yes, the president has put out a message and ordered all the military infrastructure that we have in terms of military side. We had these terrorists who had attacked a community in Niger State and left 40 people dead. As at yesterday, death toll was 30, but in the last 24 hours, 10 more have been accounted for, and I'm sure that there's still going to be more. Unfortunately, they had attacked this market. They started shooting sporadically, 40 people dead, a few abducted, and it's ridiculous that at this time we're still reporting this. Now, there's some reports that suggest that this is something of a blowback from the U.S. attack in Sokoto, but we don't necessarily have specific details to either corroborate or be sure that that's what's really happening. But there's certain reports that are indicating this might be a blowback from that particular attack. For side, how exactly do we navigate this renewed violence that we're seeing, especially in Niger State, with these attacks coming rather frequently?
Well, see, I think I'll be surprised if anyone at all who are listening to us continuously, consistently, is surprised that we have this attack. It's very unfortunate, totally condemnable on Sokoto State. I said it specifically on this show that, look, strikes from the U.S. will not automatically help us solve the problem. I said it. That look, if it is true that there was a coordination between the U.S. government and the Nigerian government on that airstrike from the U.S., guys, it's what we are going to be seeing from our own troops. Because the reality is that there will be some part of these guys who will not be killed by these U.S. strikes.
Yes. So
what they will try to do is to run into other places, dissolve into other communities. And thank God that in the report on this killing that happened in Niger State, government officials are saying that those guys who did this killing are people who were running away from Donald Trump's bomb in Sokoto State. So Trump has done his own bit. The little he could do is helped us to throw bomb at them. So for those of them that were not killed, the people that were running away create what you call a perimeter. You know, an attack perimeter around that area. If you shared intelligence with the U.S. to throw bombs at that location in Sokoto State. So what it means that there will be a perimeter. Did we do that? So we now have people that were not killed in Sokoto State who are running away to other parts of the country now had the audacity again to kill over 40 Nigerians. Make it make sense. Please. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ordered the two Nigerian troops to go after the killers. Say by Mama Balolini. And I'm sure that Donald Trump is on the sidelines looking at us. These guys can't take care of themselves. These guys can't handle their own situation. And when they come down, we say, oh, sovereignty. Look, what is sovereignty when you cannot, when the government of a country cannot perform the first responsibility of governance? Every other thing comes secondary. Any government that fails, that is so incapacitated to the point where it cannot protect the lives and properties of the people, cannot legitimately talk about sovereignty. So it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. And you know, when we talk about this idea of taking these guys in school in Niger State, you know, obviously something must have exchanged and they were reason in batches. Do you think these guys are going to just let go? That has become something very lucrative for them. The risk is also very minimal, if you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
So what it means is that, look, they have been emboldened, get more emboldened, to commit other crimes. So we need to ask ourselves, what is the plan to solve this problem? Faith, are you with me? Hello, Faith.
I'm with you, Fuad.
How do we solve this problem? Killings in Kwara State, killings in Niger State, killings in part of Borno State. It's obvious, and we don't have a handle on the situation. And if we cannot handle it, well, maybe it is time before they come to help us, we call for help.
Fuad, I don't even know the response to this, because I was reading this, and it's so unfortunate that 40 persons, and these are the ones that are accounted for. And we had that conversation that what would be the repercussion of this strike. Trump has done his. Typically in operations like this, when I spoke to Alex Okonkwo, the security expert, he says there should immediately, once the strikes are done, you go in, foot soldiers immediately go to
for a mop-up. What you call in fact, they had actually announced that they were doing mop-ups. That was information we got from the government.
That, don't worry, we're not letting them run away. We know where they are. We're tracking them. Okay, well, they're here now. They've abducted people. They've killed people. They've set the market ablaze. 40 people. Now this. When will it end? That's the most important question here. Well, Fuad, as we are dealing with the loss of lives, we are also dealing with the loss of finance. Once again, the NNPC is in the news. NNPC subsidiaries' debt balloons 70% to 30 trillion naira. I'm reading from the Punch. Now, despite its transition into commercial entity, the Nigerian are keeping intercompany indebtedness, pushing outstanding obligations owed to the company to 30.30 trillion naira. Latest findings from the NNPC's 2024 audited financial statement showed that debts owed by subsidiaries, joint ventures, and other related entities rose by 70.4%, or 12.52 trillion, from 17.78 trillion in 2023 to 30.30 trillion of December 31st, 2024. The sharp increase have raised. Having to read through this entire report, I have summarized the whole thing. I've been able to read through. So far, we have about 32 subsidiaries.
32.
Yes, 32. Now, of the 32, only 8 are not owing the NNPC. And the most indebted of these subsidiaries, your guess are the refineries. The Port Harcourt refinery, about 4.22 trillion. Kaduna refinery, about 2.3 trillion. And I could go on and on and on. The Nigeria pipeline and storage. But just for context, the most indebted money. Right?
Full subsidiaries.
Yes. But this is the most confusing part of it. Bayo Ojulari did tell us a few weeks ago, or a few days ago, if you like, that the NNPC recorded profit after tax of 4.5 trillion naira.
From what total revenue?
From 45.1 trillion naira in revenue for the year.
Okay, so profit after tax is what?
5.4 trillion naira.
And the subsidiaries are owing how much?
About 30 trillion naira. Mind you, Fuad, there's still the controversy of the president wiping off $1.42 billion and 5.57 trillion naira after the so-called reconciliation that had happened. So the confusion is, how is it that you're owing how is it that your subsidiaries are owing to the trillion naira? The president recently wiped off your $1.42 billion and 5.57 trillion naira after reconciliation. The ICPC says that the NNPC have failed all the integrity tests. In fact, 0 is their score. Mind you, Fuad Said, this is supposed to be the mainstay of Nigeria's economy. And we have a professor who's saying that the NNPC is practically bankrupt. And it's not just about, it's not the bankruptcy that's the most fearful part here. Is that this exposes deeper structural issues within the entire oil value chain. Fuad Said.
See, you've broken it down completely. Brilliant. And I think for anybody who took time to listen to how you, because very long report, because we are talking about an audited report, so there were a lot of figures to deal with, and I'm happy that you've been able to understand. If you are the owner of this kind of company, where would you be?
I'm just going to be selling pineapple in Nigeria Republic. What is remaining in the company?
If they bring this kind of report to you as the chairman of the company, they say, but they run really, and these are audited reports. What are you doing?
Don't need to nightclub. Just convert it to
at least that was, you are sure, at least. It's serious. he knew what he was saying. So where does this now put the entire fiscal policy of this administration when it comes to revenue generation, especially when it comes to the oil sector? And unfortunately, say, you know, a larger percentage of the funding that we're supposed to have for our budget is supposed to come from the oil sector.
Yes, and taxation.
Taxation and then borrowing.
Yes.
To balance everything. So by the time one aspect of what is supposed to be a major contributor to how to fund the budget is in this kind of mess, then we're in trouble. See, again, we are talking about a sector. See, in Saudi Arabia today, you talk about the UAE today, you talk about Qatar, you talk about Bahrain. Do they have any other thing than what we are talking about? Crude oil.
Not at all.
And it's not just crude oil, we are talking about crude oil that all over the world is the desire of most nations.
Sweet crude, that's what's called.
They call it sweet crude because of how, and look at the report of the company managing these God-given resources for us. Look at the subsidiaries that are owing. 32 of them, only 8 are not owing. And if you look at, if not for corruption, mismanagement, lack of accountability, entrenched endemic corruption in how the whole thing is going on. If you look at the names of these subsidiaries are subsidiaries that are supposed to run profitably, if well managed. How did all the money we put into turnaround maintenance, revitalization are top on the list of NNPCL subsidiaries that are owing trillions of naira? See, you know, we keep saying it here. There are corporations, there are still procurement going on, salaries are still being paid. Because you know, the question to ask is that how are they owing? Why are they owing? What did they do that is making them owe in refineries that are not working? I don't know. And I think, because again, what comes to mind, the simple thing that comes to mind is that maybe they should not shut down the entire solid by government.
Oh, concession, I mean.
Because it's just crazy. And that's why when they come out to say, profit after tax, you know that in reality now, we don't know that there's no money. Because again, like the professor said, from this audited report, it means that the NNPCL is bankrupt.
Yeah.
The idea of profit after tax from a revenue of about 30 trillion or 40 trillion.
45.1 trillion.
Yes. And then profit after tax of 4.something trillion. With these debts from subsidiaries, cumulatively, but look, the reason why they can even talk about profit after tax is because the government has decided to also cancel out some of their debts.
Yes.
In remittances.
Yes.
So put everything together, you understand why the NNPCL has become a set. No wonder the ICPC, what more do we have, say? Is there anything to add?
Fuad, it's scary. It is scary because it doesn't make sense. You have the crude, you have the refinery, you have the manpower. What is the problem?
The problem is that there's corruption and there's really no commitment to solving the problem of corruption within the system. It's as simple as that. Now today, look, the ICPC told you now on 4 levels on checking what you call your transfer at all the 4 levels. Oh, okay, you are saying what is the problem? That is the problem. Problem here, not here.
For side, you think that there's no amount of shock that can come to you again in Nigeria's... Let me just pause for a bit and remind people that we're actually... This is Trends in the Papers, okay? On mainland 98.3 FM. We're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. So people don't think he's in Combe. We're live on Facebook. Mainland 98.
He's almost looking like that, right?
On Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Sage Babalola. Fouad is on the phone. We're looking at the Punch newspaper. We're reviewing stories that we just reviewed. The situation with the NNPCL, the financial situation of the NNPCL, and what this means for Nigeria's fiscal strength moving forward. Well, Fouad, once again, we're back to the tax conversation, which also sort of concerns over alleged alterations to tax law. I had to segue to The Guardian very quickly because I think that report sort of captures, more importantly, what we need to talk about. So the headline, National Assembly certified copies validate concerns over alleged alterations to tax laws. Now, concerns previously raised over discrepancies between Nigeria's newly gazetted tax reform laws and the version passed by the National Assembly have now been reinforced by the release of the certified true copies of the National Assembly. The CTC set out in clear terms what provisions approved by the lawmakers and provide authoritative documentary evidence of what was transmitted for presidential assent. The House of Representatives has on Saturday released the CTC of the 4 Tax Reform Act, recently signed into law by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu following public concerns over alterations and circulation of unauthorized versions of the law. So I'm just going to skip through to the parts that actions currently in force were not contained in the bills passed by the House. Nigeria Tax Administration Act. The National Assembly passed version explicitly assigns the Nigeria Revenue Service responsibility for do not appear in the gazetted version of the Act. This omission have also now raised questions about whether the scope of federal tax administration is narrowed or altered after legislative approval. What that simply means is that the problem must have happened from the Senate and to when it got to the president's table. That's where the problem happened. Now, further discrepancies. Section 29, which governs financial disclosure by banks and other financial institutions. The version passed by the National Assembly, you're required to submit annual returns with reporting triggered where cumulative monthly transaction reached 50 million for individuals and 250 million for corporate entities. But then again, the Gazetted Act replaced the annual return with quarterly reporting.
Not annually, and even pay attention. Yes.
National Assembly says annually.
And what was the amount? The threshold?
Million for
quarterly
for companies, and this is quarterly, not annually. 50 million for individuals, the one passed by the National Assembly, 50 million for individuals, 250 million for corporate entities. Annually. But the Gazetted shows here quarterly, 25 million for individuals, 100 million for companies. Now, what this means is that it has widened 5 million. And so there's more people that are now listed to pay this particular.
You have to do quarterly reporting.
Quarterly reporting.
Not annual reporting.
Yes. Yeah. So it has expanded reporting obligations. We also have another one here. The National Assembly passed version allows taxes, including those relating to petroleum operations, to be accessed and paid in the currency of transaction.
Yeah.
But the gazetted version mandates that petroleum-related tax computation be made in United States dollars. That's another one. Very briefly, we have now the most important one here. As provided consent that if there's a disputation regarding a particular tax obligation, that's not the National Assembly did not.
They don't even put that. They
did not put that at all. But we have it. So Fuad, we will spend a lot of time if we're going to this through.
No need. I
think we have the most important one.
All that.
So the problem is from the National Assembly to the president's table. Who are the people in between that have dipped hand into
not the one that was signed by the president too. It means that in between that transition from the National Assembly to the president's table, and when you're joke, what they say alter law that the National Assembly passed says. Only and we say it doesn't matter, right? For people who are still interested in what part of the law that was altered, because as it is now, it has now been confirmed that law was altered. So the question is, who altered something that was passed jointly by the National Assembly? Who are the representatives of the people? And we said it, if at the point of transmitting this law to the president for access, they felt that thing to do so, you should send it back to the National Assembly. You understand what I'm saying? There's no problem. We see situations like that. In other words, when a law was transmitted, I think it was the Electoral Act, was transmitted after amendment, to him and to the president, and they felt that they needed to adjust one or two things, maybe as recommended by the consultant. The right thing to do is not to go and sit down somewhere. Say, why your biology cannot call. The right thing to so is it that they don't trust the National Assembly that they don't have to go and sit down? Because the question now is that at what point was this law altered? Who altered it? Because it's not fair. So when you saw that or not, as alteration to a law,
extremely substantial.
So that the question is, who is going? Look, we have to wait now that the National Assembly has. Do you know that as it stands now, the implementation of that law is illegal?
Yes.
In reality, because we are talking about the implementation of a forced law. Because the question, at what point did they change this? I don't know if you can see that Sarah is smart. Sarah has also told the presidency, the one that you signed, can you also give us a certified true copy? So we again, with all the problems we are faced with, we have also gotten to the point where the National Assembly will pass a law, will go and forge it.
I mean, isn't there like a chain of custody? Can't they trace the chain of custody? They're supposed to be.
It's because you are already, we don't want to say what we are supposed to say. In reality, let me ask you, you don't know. So in all these lives, there's no change of the reality is that we know, but again, there are things we cannot say on radio. But people who are listening to us know what we know and what we are just not saying. Because again, we still have to wait for the right thing to be done so that it becomes official as to where all of these things have happened. We are forging past law. We are where, as a country, we have gotten to the point where at least forging law in National Assembly passed. And there are people that say it doesn't matter. The first thing waterman should be careful. He should not just infuriate Nigerians. Which is really all this English is picking up and down. Nobody is saying that we should not reform our tax processes. That's what we are saying. We are not even saying Nigerians should not pay taxes. What have we seen? What did we see? We are on band A now. For almost 48 hours, going to 3 days now. There has not been light. And we are on band A, so far. So the question is not even about paying or not paying taxes. But if we get to the point where the National Assembly pass a law and transmit to the president for assets, and suddenly we are finding out that the voter is say, what it has break, 1 law 4 J. So we have to get to the root of the matter, because on the basis of transparency and accountability,
I'm clutching my pearl at the thought that if this man, Dasuki, I can't remember his first.
I'm not helped to identify the issue.
He was the sole person, he was the sole opposer, if that's even a word, of myself and my colleagues' debate. So if that one man did not have the courage to stand on that day and evoke his privilege, we will be neck deep into this law before we realize that somebody.
And you now see why the famous of democracy talk about checks and balances. The doctrine of separation of power. And the reason why we also have to share lawmakers who are in the ruling party or who just saw it and felt that it doesn't matter. It's as bad as that.
You're still listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. I'm saying articles running mid-slot, Obedient Coordinator. We have the National Coordinator of the Obedient Movement Worldwide, Dr. Yunusa Tanko, have ruled out any possibility of former Anambra State Governor accepting a vice presidential slot ahead of the 2027 general election. Tanko and Alayo Vibi made the clarification in an exclusive interview with The Punch, responding to speculations that the former Labour Party presidential candidate will be vice president to Atiku Abubakar. Well, Fuad, the Obedience are saying that it's president or nothing, or it's presidential ticket or nothing. Yes, but we have, I believe, 3 individuals. That would be Atiku Abubakar, I believe, Rotimi Amechi, and Peter Obi, who are posing themselves to want to get the presidential ticket from the ADC for the 2027 election. Fuad, I watched an interview over the weekend from Mr. Pearson. I can't remember. I think I did talk about Pierce or something, that he says that there is a possibility that what if Peter Obi decides to go back to the PDP if he does not clinch the it to him.
I don't know what the man you listen to. I don't know what he's saying.
I can't remember his name now. But he says, is there a possibility for us? Let's even forget his identity now. But is that a possibility?
Which PDP is Obi going to go back to? Which PDP? To even start with that part of elections that don't happen this year. Mostly, as it stands, the PDP might not be able to even present candidates in those 2 elections. As it stands. And if they are not able to resolve their issue, ahead of 2027, by 2027, they might still not be able to present candidates all across the country. Because as it stands, INEC has told them, I will not entertain or receive any correspondence from your party again until you resolve your matter, or until the court tells us what to do with the party. So as we stand, the PDP does not exist. Until they resolve all their matters in court, it's going to go back. This PDP, is the PDP of Wike or the PDP of ᴏᴜᴛᴜ Mohammed. And then it's a political party, I'm sure they know. And in political parties, they are not going to just give you the ticket of the party. You must be ready to go to the rigor of primaries.
Yeah.
So I'm sure before Obi decided I was going to join the ADC, he must have looked at all of those calculations themselves to also become the presidential candidate of the party. So for the ADC, the biggest challenge ahead for them now is how they're going to be able to align all of these interests of Atiku, Rotimi Amaechi, and Peter Obi, who are started to become the big brother of the house. And that look, you'll be leaving Obi. So, things can happen. Nobody knows the kinds of conversations they're having among themselves. There are people who have said that Obi will never join the ADC.
Yeah.
He has joined the ADC now to their surprise. So there might be more surprises.
Executive chairman of the Nigeria Revenue Service, formerly the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Zak Adedeji, has actually told security agencies to be on alert over planned nationwide protests against the new tax laws. I was going to mention that before he.
So he's the one that be telling security to be on alert. Yeah, he's the job. It's not the job of the NSA again. So Zak Adedeji is the one telling security to. So he already knows that. Nobody is, again, I repeat, I don't think Nigerians are saying they don't want to pay taxes. Tax obligations are sacrosanct. Nobody, and there will always be a need to make it a bit more holistic. The reason why Nigerians will never trust what they are saying, that the new law is for poor. I told you, Mr. Oyedele can speak all the truth in the world. If I let him bring all the professors of tax all over the world to come and speak to Nigerians, there's this trust issue between the government and the poor now. They said it was only the rich that was enjoying it. They were buying 4-5 cars. Since they took away subsidy, have you seen the rich sold their car? Is it not you and I that are suffering it?
Yeah, don't put yourself with Mekuno people, please, for us.
I'm part of the palace hours in this country, and you know it.
I don't know anything. For Ayame, over expanding diplomatic relations, The Guardian had reported in the Punch as well. I was a tad skeptical, but then I see that it's reported in The Guardian and also the Punch and a few other papers. Yes. So,
I think Bayoneluga put out the picture.
Yes. So I just wanted to be
in Europe.
He's in Paris.
That's the essence. Who does about the movement of the president? They said he was going to Europe.
Yeah.
And we have said that there's nothing called Europe. There must be a specific country that the president is going to. So with that picture now, it's confirmed that the president is where?
France. I think people already kind of knew that he was going to.
So anytime you talk about the president going to Europe now, it's France.
People had assumed. No. I'm saying that most of the assumption was that he was in France, in Europe. I mean, that's.
But why didn't they just tell us he was going to France? Why say Europe?
That one is, I don't know. It's Uncle Bayo that can tell us the answer to that. I'm so sorry to hear that. Falana that said it. Don't allow Trump to spark a religious war in Nigeria. Trump is setting a dangerous
trouble. Seriously.
In a
DRC with the ᴏᴜᴛᴜ rebels.
Yeah.
I was shocked when
what do you want to tell us, honestly? Because you yourself, your hand is in the cookie jar. Anyways, I'll just read the rest of the headlines that we have here. Oh, Lilu, the community, they're talking about the abductions, killing of the native, unbridled arson. Is like a daily occurrence. They are killing, and they're sending out a Save Our Soul that please declare a state of emergency in that particular community. I think I also saw another report where 30 Plateau residents have been killed. It was a doctor who raised that alarm. There's been a surge of violent attacks across Plateau State, and at least 30 people have died in the past 2 weeks. For outside, I don't.
It's even reported that the former AGF and worker is even telling Trump, please send your bombs to Benue.
Please.
He's begging, that the bombs should be sent to Benue to save people there. That they have still been killed in Benue.
Which is why I was quite shocked when the US decided to strike, he chose Sokoto. But then the security expert said it was strategic. He didn't really want to get into it. That the attack in Sokoto was just to send a signal. And because I had asked why Sokoto, there are other places where these individuals are notorious. Why did you choose Sokoto? But
they commit crimes in other places. They don't necessarily reside in those areas. They move around. You see them on motorcycles, riding in our bushes, in our areas, in our communities for hours. And that's why we are still of these guys after the US dropped its own bomb. But it appears that we didn't do that. Now that they are now emboldened to go into other communities to continue to kill Nigerians, which is very unfortunate.
Unfortunate indeed. Fadu, we're due for a break. We'll be back at 8:40 for Mainland Focus, and then we can allow you an opportunity to opine on the matters that have been discussed. I'm Sage Babalola. The Morning Express still continues. Stay with us. For our side, we appreciate you for your insight.
You are listening to the Morning Express on